Hello, welcome everybody to episode 5 of She Rises podcast. I'm Jamie Vona,
And I'm Melody Williams. We
and
welcome you, welcome you, welcome you.
we definitely do. And today we're going to talk about anxiety. As you can see, it's the holiday season.
Yes.
And no matter what your beliefs are, you're probably stressed. If you're a student, you have finals coming up and you have to get gifts and you have to pack because you have to leave campus to go home. And so
Oh, yeah.
there's just a ton for students right now that I can't imagine. I'm so glad I'm not a student. I'm so glad I'm the professor, not the student
Yes, there
anymore.
you go.
Right. But I am a mom of a student. So I still have to, I mean, she's not far away, but I still have to go pack her up and bring her home and all that good stuff. So I know everybody's stressed around now. So Miss Melody and I figured today would be a great time to talk about anxiety. If you stick around to the very end, I'm going to end the session with a relaxation technique. I don't
Yes.
always bring it up. Maybe we should tell people why we're before we start, maybe we should tell people what makes us qualified to even discuss these topics, because I had a friend watching this and she said, I love it, but maybe you guys should let people know. And I think in one part we said that we were therapists somewhere, but we just like brushed over it quickly. So just real quick, so you could give yours, I'll just tell mine real quick. I have I have a master's in counseling psychology and a specialization in couples therapy and marriage therapy. And I'm getting my doctorate right now in educational leadership. I'm in my dissertation phase. I just got approved by the IRB and the IRC. So now I can move on and do my research. I have an interview after this, so I'm excited about that.
Ooh.
I know, right? 2 down, 18 to go. And
Come,
then
it's okay.
that's
One bite
okay.
at a time. One
That's,
bite at
yep,
a time.
exactly. And then I'm going to write up my findings, finish my discussion, and write my article so that I can get published and then graduate. So that's
Awesome.
where I'm at. But I just want to, oh, and I'm a professor. So I've been teaching psychology at the college and university level for almost 20 years. I know, I don't look that old.
No, you look terrific, terrific, terrific. So, of
Yeah,
course,
Ms.
I'm Melody Williams. I am a pastor, I am a life coach, and I have been doing counseling with couples for over 20 years, I guess I would say. And I think that my best qualifier is that I, of course, parlay everything in the Bible over into life. And I think that that is the perfect script for us to learn how to live,
Okay.
effectively. That there is, the Bible said there's nothing new under the sun. So everything that we have experienced, somebody else has experienced it before. So I don't have to go through what they've gone through to learn the lesson. So that
You
is
don't
just,
have
I
to
guess,
reinvent the wheel.
no, we don't. That's the practical application, I think, of our program, that we bring science and Bible together and we're able to draw that fine gray line that now we have distinction as far as what can impact and empower the people that are listening to us.
I love how you said that. We bring science. What'd you say? We bring science and scripture together?
I didn't say it that way, but that's it. So we'll rewind it because
We'll
that was hot off
rewind
the
it.
press. Yes.
Yeah. Well, no, but I like that though, because if somebody's listening, I don't want people to, hang up and be like, oh, this is all about just God, God, God. So like you're saying, you bring that part and then you bring the scripture and I bring the science.
Yes. And
So
we merge
and
it together. That
we
is the
merge
main
it
thing.
together because so many people think that you have to be one or the other, that you have to either
No.
just be, scientific or just be spiritual, and you could be both. And just know that whatever your spirituality is, it doesn't matter. I did
Nope.
look up statistics. 92% of Americans do believe in a higher power. So we all
Yep.
believe in different higher powers, but
Sure.
92% is a pretty
Mm-hmm.
big number. You know what I
Yep.
mean? But if
Mm-hmm.
you're the 8% that does not believe, this still is an okay podcast for you. You're still going to learn a whole lot. You know
Right.
what I
Because
mean?
the reality is we are going to still bring practical life scenarios to you to help you through whatever you're dealing with. So, sometimes you're looking like, oh, I don't know if I really believe in that, or I don't believe in organized religion, whatever your precedence is. But I think that we can all, as our platform says, grow together and learn something from one another. So that is
You're
our
right.
endeavor.
You're right. And I am not like the best. I'm just being honest. I don't go to church every Sunday. I do listen to Pastor Mike and you when you guys send me I listen
Okay.
to that, but that's about as far as I go. So maybe I need to work on it a little bit more. But that's adding more anxiety to my life right now. So let's talk about anxiety. So
Okay. We don't
all
want
right.
we don't want to add any more.
I
Okay,
know,
so
right?
so my thing is that I would first say to you, how do I identify anxiety? If I feel as though I'm going through something, because some people may think, oh, I've always been this way. So how would I be able to classify or identify that I'm even experiencing an anxiety?
I
I
love
know.
that. And
Well, you
that's
usually interview me, so I'm kind of figured I'd switch this here today.
No, I love that. No, I love that though, because, right, how do you know? Okay, so I'm glad that you said that. So let me start by telling everybody what anxiety is. So anxiety is a future-based emotion. So it's about something that we haven't experienced yet. So let me give you an example. Let's say you're a little kid and you promise your cousins that next summer you're going to go on the upside down ride, but really you're just afraid you don't want to go. So now the next summer comes and they remember, and it's coming time for you to go on this upside down ride. And the closer to the day, the more your stomach might start hurting. You might start getting headaches. Maybe you feel sick, ill. That's all anxiety, right? And I'll talk about the difference between normal anxiety and abnormal anxiety. But this is normal anxiety for this kid that's afraid to do something that they've never done before. So then by the time they get to the amusement park, they see their cousins, they're excited, but they have to go to the bathroom real quick because they're scared. They get on the line, they go on the upside down ride. At the end of the ride, so your most anxiety is going to be going up, when you hear the tick, 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 tick before it goes all around. That's when you're going to have your most anxiety. At the end of the ride, you either love the ride, you hated the ride. Either way, your anxiety went away. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because you went on the ride. So,
Yep.
so that's what I mean by it's a future-based emotion. Once we experience the emotion, it goes away because or experience this situation, the anxiety goes away. So then we know now whether we like it, whether we don't like it, but we no longer have that anxiety about it because we did it. So what's the difference between normal anxiety and abnormal anxiety? Let me just quickly, real quick, for people to go over this, because I think you make a good point. We sometimes use the word anxiety too broadly, and we'll
Yes.
say things like my anxiety, or
Yes.
I've always been anxious, things like that. So anxiety is a very, very, very normal emotion. If it wasn't, think about it. If it wasn't for anxiety, we wouldn't have science. We wouldn't have people that were scared and were up all night in the lab trying to find a cure for polio because they had loved ones dying of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, so
Right.
if it wasn't for anxiety, we would we wouldn't have we wouldn't have advanced as much as we have in life. So think of anxiety not as always a bad thing. Sometimes it's a good thing. If you're walking alone at night and you have heightened awareness, you might feel a little bit anxious, but it could be that heightened awareness that keeps you out of trouble because you're being more aware of your surroundings, things like that. When it gets to abnormal anxiety, it has to interfere with at least two areas of daily functioning. So, for example, if you only get anxiety when you go to school, but you don't get anxiety at home, you don't get anxiety with friends, at church, all of the above. Then it's situational, because then it's like, okay, well, what is it about the school that's giving you anxiety? What we see for a clinical side is, does it interfere with at least two areas of daily functioning? So it's happening at school and at home.
Okay.
It could be in more than two. It could be at school, at home, just your whole life. So that's what we're really looking for. Doesn't interfere with daily functioning in a negative way. So I think that's important to note, because when we do have anxiety, like right now, the anxiety I'm feeling is not considered clinical anxiety. I have normal mom, student, businesswoman anxiety. So this is normal anxiety. It's the things that get me to download and, edit all night so that I could drop an episode, things like that. But I mean, if we didn't have anxiety, we wouldn't do those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
anxiety can bring us to do good things. It's when it starts to interfere with daily
Overtake
functioning
it.
that it
Yep.
becomes a problem. What do you think?
I love it because, of course, as you're just typing that, I'm kind of going through my notes and just making things. So what I love the fact is that you brought out that, we often deal with, because, we deal with it, whether you're in the church or out of the church, you deal it with life, especially when I'm still on my secular job, that I'm constantly dealing with, stress triggered situations. I'm the problem solver. So, I'm a supervisor manager on my job. And those are the things that come to me. That's the only time they need me, is when there is a problem to be solved. And so, you can kind of say, oh, this is going to go crazy, this is going to go whatever. And so then something that you said, as far as that, the fear, and that's the way I took it, the fear of the unknown.
Yes,
That
that's what it is.
so you're talking about the future, So how can you draw a case of fear and you haven't experienced it yet? Because it's all in my mind. I'm thinking about what could happen, what might happen. Now, it doesn't say anywhere that it's going to happen, but
Mm-mm.
I have convinced myself that that is my truth. And now I'm leery or afraid of it. And now I'm feeling a physical manifestation in my body all because of the way that I'm thinking.
Yes,
So
and
that
it's
we have to allow, so when you're talking about situational,
yes.
abnormal, and normal anxiety, that we have to be able to, I call it, assess it,
Yes.
and now filter it through the proper channel. So that if I'm same thing, one time I was going across the bridge. Now I work in Philadelphia, so I'm always on that bridge. But it was just one day, it just
Isn't
felt
that
like this.
funny? You live in Jersey, work in Philly. I live in Philly, work in Jersey.
Yes, that's why we're two peas in a pod.
Yeah, we are.
That I was getting ready to go across the bridge, and all of a sudden it was this overwhelming feeling of, it was fear, uncertainty. And I was like, but I stopped, just my thinking. I brought peace to my mind, and then I processed the thoughts that were trying to empower this fear factor. And I said, wait a minute, there is absolutely nothing that can happen on this bridge that has not happened before. And I've been driving over it 20 years. I said, so whatever this is not from me. And I said, and I release it. Went to work and had a regular day. But at that time, that emotion was very real.
It was.
But because it was anticipating something happening that hadn't happened before, and that it was going to be the plight of me. But if I run with that, then now, as you're talking about, now it's abnormal. Now something is happening that I know. But it's like, but if I kind of think it through logically, says, wait a minute, why am I afraid of something that I haven't experienced yet? And so even what you said, that anxiety or fear, it's the root, can actually be a driving force to get you to do something you've never done before.
That's right.
Now, same thing. Now, I don't know how to swim. Now, my whole entire family are awesome swimmers. And
I
so
can't believe you don't know how to swim.
I know, we won't get into that conversation, but yeah. So that is one of the things that every time we're in the pool, Mike swears he's going to teach me how to swim. And so now, of course, now my anxiety is trying to get up because I'm looking like, he's just going to throw me in there and be like, and so then I finally said, now we know he's not going to throw you in, so stop it. And sometimes you have to reason yourself. You got to think it all the way through. And so, but I know that before I leave here, I am going to learn. So hopefully it'll be on one of these channels. I say, hey, I know how to swim.
Yeah,
But
you
I am
will.
going, yes, that is something that I choose to conquer because it's something that I'm not comfortable with. And
No,
it
and it
goes
makes
back
you feel
to,
out of control. I'm so glad you just said
yes,
that because, like
yes.
you're saying, well, I'm thinking, okay, well, what happens if he throws her in? That means you're out of control and there's nobody in there to save you.
And
That's
that's the whole
anxiety.
fear. But
That's
now
anxiety.
it totally is, but it's birthed out of something from my past. And that's when you have to realize what's the trigger. So
Yeah.
now, back in the day, we were in high school, and my baby sister was in a pool over a friend's house. She's swimming, and someone cuts her off, but she couldn't tread water. So now I'm watching her try and drown. So that was a traumatic moment
Oh,
for me
yeah.
as far as water. And so, of course, I'm the one like, yo, it's not good. And so they got her. She was fine. But that left an indelible moment in my life and in my subconscious.
Yes, it
So that
did.
sometimes when I experience water, it triggers that. But then, of course, I realize that I know the end of the story. It's not uncertain. She was fine. She lived a full life, all those things. So you have to challenge where the emotion is and what's it coming from? What's the driving force of the uncertainty? Is
Can
it
I
just
make
the
a connection
unknown?
for you real quick?
Please.
So, you know how you said that you were nervous going over the bridge?
Yes.
That's over water,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So we don't realize how even subconsciously, so we're talking about water here, it's the same thing. So what was it that made you, it wasn't like you said, it's not, nothing has happened on this bridge that hasn't already happened before. It had nothing to do with the bridge. It had to do with the fact that you were going over water and what would happen if something happened and you can't swim if you had to.
Right. Right.
So we need to
So that's
teach
why I
you how
got to
to
learn how to
swim this
swim.
summer.
I
We're
got to
going to
learn how
learn
to
how to
swim.
swim this
Yes.
summer. Yes,
That's
we
the
will.
goal. Yes.
That is the goal.
So I love that because it's the unknown. And then it can, in fact, be a driving force that we can turn it around and make it something positive instead of something negative. So
Yes.
I think that will help someone as far as if you're experiencing it, especially, sometimes, during the holidays, you may be alone. You may not, you may want to go to an event, but then you don't want to go by yourself. And so now you have this preconceived notion, oh, everyone's going to talk about you. Okay, newsflash update. They're going to talk about you. They're going to talk about you anyway. So whether you're with somebody, whether you're not. So my thing is, go fabulous. Okay.
Go fabulous. If not, they're going to talk about why you didn't come.
Yes. And give them something to talk about. Since you're going to talk about, give them something
Yes.
to talk about. Oh my God,
I
she
love
looks so
that.
good. He looks so good. So it's like, let's turn the table on anxiety and stop making it such a negative, reference as opposed to changing to something positive.
I also say you're probably very creative if you have anxiety because like you were saying before, a lot of it is what you're making up in your thought process. So I started smiling at first because I thought of yesterday. My husband last week partially, or like a month ago, partially amputated his finger. So it was gross. I can't unsay it. But anyway, so I saw it the very first day and I couldn't unsay it. So yesterday or the day before, he was trying to show me like they unbandaged it and he was, and I literally almost passed out. Like I was like, and my daughter and him were hysterical laughing. They were like, it is not that bad. And I was like, I don't want to see it. I was like, I saw a white bubble and he's like, none of that is there. He's like, it's a scab. But like my imagination went
Yes,
so wild. I had to
it
sit
held
down on the
on to
couch.
it. It
Ava
held
got
on
a
to it.
picture of
Yes.
me. I'll have to tell her to send it to me so I can send it to you. I'm on the couch like this. I was like, I can't take it. And then yesterday it fell off and he's like, look, my finger. And I was like, I don't want to look. But here it's like you're saying it was our imagination. Because once I looked, I was like, now I don't have anxiety about looking anymore because I looked at it and it looks healed now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And so
So it was just my imagination.
but you know what, even with that, as we're saying that, I just want to challenge those that are listening to take that step through the window of fear and to realize that once you arrive in the destination, don't erase the journey, but arrive at the destination, then in fact you will realize that you've grown.
That
And I think
that's the
that's
whole
the
thing
biggest
is
thing.
that yes, is that each experience brings growth, right? So,
Yes,
and like I was saying, if you go back to the ride example, whether you loved it and you want to go again or you hated it and you never go on a ride again, either way, your anxiety went away because you did it.
yes,
And there's so many things that we avoid. So I was going to say the
yes,
next part of anxiety is avoidance behavior. So avoidance
absolutely.
behavior and anxiety go hand in hand.
Hand in hand.
You get into a fender bender on this one road and now to get to school you're taking a 30-minute road all the way around
Yes.
instead of a 10-minute direct road.
And
The
you are
more you
content
do
with that.
that, yeah, the more you do
Yes,
that, the more you reinforce the fact that you shouldn't go down that one road.
yes.
So you're making it worse.
Totally, totally. And of
Yeah.
course, but what are you saying when you're doing it too? Because we are habit forming creatures. That if I keep saying to myself, "Oh, I can't do that. Oh, I can't go that way. Oh, I can't experience that," that my mind, my subconscious will line up with what I'm saying,
Yes.
and then therefore I am missing so much of life because I'm holding myself back because I have now made that my present reality. That I'm
Yes.
like,
And
"Oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that." Who said you can't?
no, you're right.
You don't know
You.
if you're going to try it.
Yeah, you said it. Not you personally, but like you, the
Yeah,
person that's not right.
and
Exactly.
you have convinced yourself that you can't do it.
No, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. Isn't that the
That's why I
truth?
told you going for the doctorate is like before it was like, I don't know if I want to do that, this, that, and the other. And I finally came to the point, it's like, no, I am not only going to do it, but I am going to embrace this whole season of reinventing because that's the key thing that we want to offer everybody an opportunity as you grow. That as you're growing, you are reinventing a different aspect of your life. We are so multifaceted that we can constantly reinvent ourselves and not really dial ourselves down as women.
You're absolutely right. And I think this anxiety thing goes back to perception's reality, even when it's not
Mhm.
real.
I
So I
agree.
feel like
I agree.
that's like something I find that we say in every single
A lot.
episode.
We do because it's so true.
It is
Because
so true.
because my reality, that my perception is my reality. Whether it's wrong or whether it's right, it's mine. Like you talk about my anxiety. I hold on to my perceptions. I hold on to my beliefs. They are the core of who I am. And I make every decision based on the core of who I am and what I believe.
That's true. And that's how everybody else is doing it as well, right?
Yes. Yes.
So it's the same type of thing. And again, I think it's important to note that a lot of our anxieties, we have to go back and think of where did this come from, like you were saying. And I was able to make a connection for you today, maybe about the bridge. But it's good to make these connections because maybe
Yes.
now going over the bridge, you might feel less anxious knowing where that anxiety originated from. So
Hmm.
now you're aware of it and you're like, wait a minute, I'm not anxious about the bridge. I'm anxious about an event that happened years ago that I had no control over. So it has to do with
Right.
having a lack of control.
Right.
I had no
Hmm.
control over. And that might actually get rid of the anxiety a lot quicker by acknowledging it. And you said that earlier. And I love that. So I usually tell people that have clinical anxiety, one of the best things you could do is acknowledge your anxiety.
Yeah.
You don't have to hide from it. Don't run away from it. Don't avoid it. Acknowledge it. I say become
Let me say
friends with
something
it.
to you real quick. This is so good. I'm so glad you said that. That even as you acknowledge it, one of the key things were that you take back your power over it. So when we do this, when we empower anxiety, we are really surrendering our control or our power to it.
That is
And
true.
now that's when we're talking about, now it's controlling you. Now it's evolving in every part of your life, and it's exploding and it's growing because you have empowered it so much, because you've personalized it, you've possessed it, you've owned it, because it's my anxiety. It's my,
Mhm.
nobody else's, it's mine. So now you have empowered this whole way of thinking in your life, and now it's really controlling you instead of you controlling it. But when you're able to acknowledge it and say, wait a minute, let me think through this, you take your power back.